Hello everyone, welcome to ChessVisor, your wise choice to improve your chess. Let's talk about this game played between Pranav Anand and Praggnanandhaa Ramesh Babu. And it was again from Asian Continental Open Chess Championship round number 4. It was a brilliant and fantastic game by Prag, and please watch this video without skipping it. And in case if you are watching this channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. So here I'm looking at the game from Prag's perspective. So here Pranav plays the move pawn to d4. We have knight f6, the universal reply. c4, gaining more space. e6. And interestingly, here Pranav plays the move knight c3 and allows bishop to b4, the Nimzo Indian. And in this position, queen c2 is one of the most commonly played move in this position. And he goes e3. That is also most commonly played move in the position. So here we have castles by Prag. We have bishop d3, and now comes move d5. So after c takes d5, e takes d5, and it opens the bishops diagonal for light square bishops for Prag. So knight e2. The idea is very simple. He doesn't want to block the f pawn, so that once he plays f3, he may able to play the move pawn to g4 or e4 later. And here Prag plays the move rook e8. We have bishop to d2 unpinning, and the bishop comes to f8. And after rook c1, he goes a5, and after castling, he plays c6. After c6, we have f3 as per the plan. We have b5, so striking or gaining more space on the queen side actually. And in this position, I was wondering, like, okay, why Prag plays this move b5? Because that leaves c6 as a backward pawn weakness, right? And why did he play that move? And if you look at the position carefully, which I marked something in the green color, the light square bishop does not have any good scope in this position. So as you can see, there is no good scope. So either it is going to end up on d7 or b7, right? So the bishop would take care of the backward pawn. Meanwhile, no other piece can come to increase the pressure on that pawn. That's the point of playing b5 earlier, giving a weakness to himself. So here we have knight f4, improving knight's post. Once this knight moves, then only we can attack this, right? So that's why he moves the king knight first in order to reroute the queen knight. And after knight a6, he immediately plays knight ce2. And after this move, the rook is eyeing c6, so it should be defended. So bishop d7 we see, g4 as per the plan, and after h6, stopping at g5. And in this position, white should have continued with the move aggressive plan of playing moves like h4, and then trying to open up the position on the king side. But he slows down now, and he plays the move queen e1, but h4 was an option here. So he plays queen e1, so trying to bring the queen into the attack. We have bishop b4, stopping the queen move immediately. And now after knight c3 coming back, we have bishop d6. Another move, it is also coming with a punch on the knight because the pawn is pinned, right? So the queen has to unpin itself. So queen f2, we have c5. And with this move, actually, Prag simply gambits a pawn here in order to collapse the center. The beautiful move of the game, I would say. That's a great option or a great move by Prag here. And after bishop takes b5, we have c takes d4, e takes d4, and now comes the move knight to b4. At first sight, okay, why this knight goes to b4? He plays this move with a long, with a like a 4 or 5 move calculation. He sees something on d3, and that's why he puts the knight on b4. Because I thought, okay, what about a3 now? So simply kicks the knight, right? But the knight isn't going anywhere because we are going to capture on f4. After bishop takes f4, we can simply capture on b5. After the natural knight takes b5, we can simply play this beautiful fork move, that is knight d3. And that's why in this position, white could not play this move, that is a3. Rather, he simply reaches the bishop to e2. And after queen b6, we see something like a4 here. So the point of playing a4 is maybe to stop a5, I don't know, but he plays a4, but that permanently leaves the knight on b4. So rook e7, and here Prag simply tries to develop on the e file. His rooks develop on the e file. So rook c d1 we see, rook a e8, and we have bishop to b5 again, and now comes the move queen b8. And again, this is a punching move because The knight is pressurized twice now, so he has to react. So bishop takes d7, knight takes d7, and here interestingly in this position again there is a pawn is hanging on d5. Can white capture this pawn? The answer is no, because if you were to capture this pawn, actually you are blundering the game now. Let's say you capture like this. You should not forget this strong battery thing is going on the h2 square, because after the natural responses like knight takes d5, knight takes d5, we can simply infiltrate with the rook e2 move and the game is over already. Because you cannot save the queen now, so queen h4 will be met with rook takes h2, and you don't have any escape square for your queen, so you have to give up the queen now. So queen takes h2, bishop takes h2 check, and again king h1 is the move. In case if you play king g2, king f2, you are getting mated in one move or couple of moves, it depends. And if you play king h1, that is also, I think, you are getting checkmated with the follow-up moves like queen to g3 and then rook e2, and you are gone. So simply you cannot grab this free pawn like a pawn grabber. So he goes knight h5 rather than grabbing the free pawn, and here he plays knight f8, trying to reroute the knight into a sensible square where it can be a offensive as well as defensive piece. And now comes the move g5, and here instead of g5 he should have considered f4 first. Earlier we have seen one tactics, right? So because of this bishop's diagonal only, or the uh, battery thing going on onto the, especially the h2 square, we combined with the move rook e2. So there was some kind of tactics, and it was winning tactics for black. So in order to shut this bishop's diagonal, you should play the move f4 immediately. And now if you play knight a2, actually we are going to witness the same move in the game, but this is not the variation. And let's say you take on a d5, and now we can play the move rook e2, queen f3, and there is no problem for white here, and the game is equal, and I would say, I think white is slightly better here even. So going back in the game, he plays the move he plays the move g5, and that allows Prag to play this brilliant move, that is knight a2, and trying to deflect the knight with a piece sacrifice. And here Pranav Anand simply captures the free piece, and that allows Prag to play this another brilliant move, that is rook e2. And after rook e2, he goes queen h4, and in this position Prag simply captures on h2, and that was not the right way to play the position. And I think in this position, or like 2 or 3 moves before, and here they were having only, or Prag was having only like 30 seconds in his clock, and Pranav was having around 1.5 minutes, something like that. So they were playing in a tremendous time pressure, and he could not find this move, that is a knight to g6. That's the point of putting the knight on f8, so that this knight can go to g6. And now you have an opportunity to come with the tempo, right? And why don't we play that move? And if you play this move, actually black is immediately winning, because there is a cute tactics coming up. Let's say you go queen g4, and we have queen takes b2, and you are going to recapture your piece also. And in this case, if you play something like rook f e1, trying to uh, uh, what do you say, challenge the rooks. But the problem is black can play this absolutely crushing move, that is rook 8 e4. It's a brilliant move. Definitely it's a brilliant move, there is no doubt about that. So here, if you capture this rook, then you are gone, because it's a mate in 3. So queen takes d4 check, bishop e3 blocking, queen takes v3 check, king h1, and then rook takes h2 is a beautiful checkmate. And that is why in this position, rather than taking on h2, Prag should have considered, or should have played knight g6. That would finish the game instantly. But in the game, he plays rook takes h2 directly, and that allows Pranav to play the move queen g4. We have knight g6 now, and now he goes f4, and finally he shuts down the bishop's diagonal. And now comes the move rook e2, doubling on the second rank. And after the natural g takes h6, we see queen to d8 here. But in this position, actually instead of this move, actually he should have played knight c3 to stay in the game. So in case if you see this move, black could continue with something like rook e g2 check. And after queen takes g2, rook takes g2 check, king takes g2, h takes g5, f5, knight h4 check, king h3, and this is holdable, and both player can play this kind of imbalance. But I actually, with the exposed king, white should be very careful. So going back, we are going to witness same kind of imbalance, but with a much better position for black, and in a winning position, something like that. So going back in this position, rather than playing the um, knight to c3, he plays g takes h6, and now the winning move is queen takes b2, but Prag plays queen to d8, and he comes up with another tactical idea. After knight c3, kicking the knight, kicking the rook, he goes queen h4. A simple move is that you cannot grab like this because it's made in one. So he goes queen takes e2 now. So after rook takes e2, he is going to play this imbalance here. So knight takes e2, and after queen takes h5, rook f2, knight h4, rook df1, and in this position he plays queen takes h6. Finally, we are gonna spend some time on the imbalance thing. So here Prag is having a queen for a 2 rook, and whenever we talk about this imbalance, the specific queen versus 2 rook endgame, or the imbalance, the defending king or the attacking king should be in safer side. Okay, otherwise it is going to be very tough to handle the position. Whether you are attacking or defending, your king should be in safe. Say for example, in this current position, white does not have a safer king. That means black is winning this ending. Let's see how the game progresses from here onwards. Actually, they were I think yeah, here also they were having like Prag was having like a 9 seconds or 8 seconds. He was playing with the only increment, and here he goes knight g3, stopping knight f5 move. So he plays queen f6, coming with the threat of taking the pawn, and he simply defends with the bishop c3. We have g5, taking advantage of the fact that if you capture, it is not that white is going to gain something, because the point of pushing this pawn is to simply open up the bishop's diagonal. And even under tremendous pressure, Prag plays this crushing move without any fear. So knight e2, we have g takes f4. After king h1, he plays f3, and here going back in this position, if you are thinking about capturing the pawn with the knight, you are actually mistaken, because after bishop takes f4, rook takes f4, we can play the move queen to g5 check, and after king to f2, you are getting checkmated in case if you go king h1, because queen g2 is a checkmate, right? You have to go king f2 here. So that is also completely winning for black. So going back in the game, he plays king h1, prophylactically moves the king away, and now comes the move f3, and after knight g1, they reach the time control, and after 10 minutes of thought, he plays knight g1 here. After queen h6, threatening the discovery, and also it's a mate threat now, so he goes bishop to d2, attacking the queen, and the queen simply moves up and renews the threat. So knight h3, and after knight h3 here, he plays the move bishop to g3, trying to attack the rook. So after this bishop g3, he goes rook to g1, so counter pinning the bishop to the king. But after simple move knight to g2, in this position actually Pranav Anand resigns the game. It's because there is nothing he can do in this position, and there is a mate threat now. So the threat is simple: queen takes h3 is a mate, right? So that's why he resigned the game. So in case if white has to continue the game, he has to give up so much of material, and eventually is going to get checkmated, and that's why he resigned. What a brilliant game, and uh, especially even with that tremendous time pressure, Prague found all the great and brilliant moves, without missing anything seriously. So I think knight g6 was one thing, but I think other than that, it was a flawless ending for him. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Still, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. As usual, this is Chess Visor, your wise choice to improve your chess.